I'm with the new Levante Trofeo. Now, the Levante has come with the V6 petrol, it's come with the V6 diesel, but there hasn't been an extremely powerful engine right here under the hood. But this time around, they've got a 590 horsepower engine right here. It's a twin turbo V8. It's related to Ferrari's engine. It's going to be ballistic. They say they've improved the handling. The steering is new. I can't wait. First up, a quick look at just what we have here. It's pretty mad and rad looking, that's for sure. And I love that. And while it's clearly a Levante, this one gets plenty of bespoke details. The chin is higher and more aggressive. Those blowback vents on the bonnet look purposeful. And the nose with its headlights placed even higher is even better. And wow, are those really 22-inch wheels? They are. Not recommended for our roads, that's for sure, but they do look crazy. On the inside, the cabin gets a lot of high-quality Italian leather, and the seats are fantastic. So in essence, the cabin is very comfy. Still, there are more than a few ordinary-looking plastic buttons, and there's nothing particularly appealing about the design. All that won't matter too much, however, if the new Trofeo is as brilliant to drive as Maserati claim it is. Funnily enough, what gets my attention first is the absorbent ride. So, we're off to the Hakone Road in this new Levante Trofeo. Of course, the highlight is that 590 horsepower engine. 590, almost 600. But right now, what I'm also appreciating quite a lot is that even on these 22-inch wheels, it's riding pretty well. There aren't too many potholes on these roads in Japan, but we do encounter the odd broken patch. And the Trofeo on its air suspension just seems to have the ability to smother them. Of course, for those of you interested in buying the Trofeo in India, please go for 21s or even 20s. These 22-inch wheels are sure to crack on one of our beautifully engineered potholes. Finally, I get onto the Hakone Skyline Road, and what a road it is. Running past volcanic lakes, dense forests, it's a veritable roller coaster ride. Germany may have the Nürburgring, but Japan has this, the Hakone Skyline, and it isn't too far behind. And what's even better is the unwritten promise. No speed guns and no police. It doesn't take me too long to start enjoying the performance of the Trofeo. But what really gets me first is that wonderful exhaust note, which frankly sounds even better than on the Ferrari. Now, we often hear complaints that the turbos rob these cars of a nice exhaust note, and that's true to some extent. But here they seem to have a nice raspy exhaust in sport, and it really does help when you're driving it hard. You can hear the engine, especially at higher revs. So smooth and linear is this engine, it feels almost naturally aspirated. Now, Maserati don't use the flat plane crankshaft like Ferrari, and this engine pulls in a smooth linear manner from 2000 RPM. So all you need to do is put your foot down, and it just keeps pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling. It's ridiculous. Now, this Trofeo engine has loads of torque and power, and when you put your foot down, performance is extremely strong. What's also pretty good is this ZF 8-speed gearbox. It's lightning quick in sport mode, and when you're braking and about to get into a corner, it's exactly what you want. Now, unlike the earlier car, this electric steering is much nicer. It's much more neutral. There's less fiddling and fussing around. And on this car, on the Trofeo, they've improved it even more. In Corsa, the sportiest mode, the transformation has me scratching my head. This is no regular Levante. No way. The Trofeo feels so compact, so agile and so poised, I find myself driving harder and harder. Lower and harder air suspension, better tuned adaptive dampers, more aggressive torque vectoring. No wonder it feels half its size around corners. Once in sport mode, with the suspension also in sport, the air suspension, it's possible to carry a lot of speed around corners. Finally, the Levante gets the sporting cred it deserves. It may be a bit rough around the edges, but this is still a car you can really enjoy, drive hard, and then keep going faster and faster and still enjoy it. What's even nicer is that in this sport mode, there's a lovely balance to the car. Maserati will get the Levante Trofeo to India towards the middle of 2019, and at an expected price of 2.7 crore, it will be quite expensive. Yes, some of the materials in the cabin aren't in line with expectations, and it isn't likely to be ideal for off-road use. But if you want the best combination of a sports car and an SUV, this just could be it. One thing's for sure, the Ferrari engine Trofeo is the best Maserati we've seen in a long time.
The Renault Captur is one of those SUVs we just don't see enough of on our roads, and that is a shame. But Renault, for its part, has been doing quite a bit to generate interest in the model, and the introduction of this shade of radiant red is one of those measures. But we're not here to talk about the color. This is the first time we've got our hands on the petrol version of the Captur, and the engine is going to be the focus of this review. Before we dive into the finer bits, you should know the Captur petrol is identical to the diesel in look, though the top spec platinum trim has been given a miss on the petrol. In design, the Captur looks chic, but the shape isn't to all tastes. And while the cabin has its interesting elements, the scratchy plastics drag things down. Space and comfort are fine, but not class leading. Over to the engine. The engine in question is Renault's 1.5-litre H4K petrol unit, which is also the one that powers the Duster petrol. It's a naturally aspirated engine with middle-of-the-road power and torque figures, and the numbers reflect in the way the Captur petrol drives. With just 106 horsepower and 142 Newton meters of torque, the Captur was expectedly not going to be sprightly, and it isn't. But if your usage is largely in town and you're going to be stuck in traffic, you won't really find any real deficit in performance. Ask any more of the engine and it feels underwhelming. It's when you want to overtake that you'd wish this engine had more to give, especially if you're familiar with the diesel Captur. Now remember, that is a turbocharged engine, and there's that little bit of a spike that you get in the mid-range, which really makes a world of a difference. To be fair, the more powerful Hyundai Creta petrol is no faster through the gears. What the Captur petrol is really missing is a good automatic transmission. Unlike the diesel Captur that gets a 6-speed manual gearbox, the petrol one is available with a 5-speed manual unit. The shifts are reasonably nice, the clutch also doesn't require all that much effort, but what is an irritant, which is something that we reported in the diesel Captur as well, is that there's absolutely no space in the footwell to rest your left leg. Really, if you think about it, this is a car that's crying out for a good automatic transmission. A CVT with this engine, according to me, would make for a great city SUV. What you do get in the Captur petrol is a reasonably quiet experience. From the Captur diesel, we already know that the Renault is quite good on refinement, talking wind noise and road noise. With the petrol engine, the engine noise levels also go down a notch. It's a fairly quiet and refined engine, and only really gets a bit buzzy when you extend it really hard. Engine and gearbox aside, the Captur petrol is identical to the diesel one in its mechanical package, and that is a good thing. One thing that we said about the diesel Captur is that this is an SUV that comes into its own at high speeds, and that holds true here as well. High-speed stability is really good, the sense of confidence that you get is really high, and just the general demeanor is of a very nice and planted car. But the question is, if you're going to be covering long distances, is the petrol Captur the one to go for? Just consider, the diesel one has an official claimed mileage of 20.4 kilometers to a litre. The petrol one, just under 14. So you'll have to do the math. Let's talk prices. The high-spec RXT variant of the Captur petrol costs 11.46 lakh rupees ex-showroom, which makes it a full 1.21 lakh rupees cheaper than the corresponding diesel variant. Note, a comparably spec'd Creta petrol costs 1 lakh rupees more than the Captur, although you do get more power, space and features in the Hyundai. So is the Captur petrol the SUV for you? If your usage primarily consists of urban commutes with the occasional out-of-town journey, the Captur petrol does make for a fair choice. The refinement, ride quality and tough build are the talking points, and performance is adequate for the urban grind. But what would make the Captur petrol far easier to recommend would be the option of a CVT automatic gearbox. I hope the good folk at Renault are listening.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Autocar Performance Show 2018. Now, as a motoring journalist, I do admit I do get to see the odd nice car and bike every once in a while. But as a petrol head, as a car enthusiast, I know that there's nothing better than seeing them all in one place under one roof. And since we're at Mumbai's biggest motor show, I thought I'd put away my employee organizer badge and just go in as a petrol head to take in the sights and the sounds. And I am going to take you along for the ride.
There's simply so much to see at this year's event. It's simply too much to cover in one video comprehensively, so what I'm going to do instead is share with you my highlights of APS 2018. And I do apologize for the shouting, but it's quite loud in here.
Now I'm afraid there's a bit of a roadblock right as soon as you get in through the gates of APS 2018, as you can probably tell right here, and that's because the very first attraction is a full-on supercar. That's right, it's a bright yellow Lamborghini Huracan, but it's only the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to show you, so let's keep moving.
Not far away, just across the aisle, was another very hot, very yellow piece of Italian exotica.
Okay, now here's something we don't see very often. It's the exclusive sporty luxury brand Maserati. I will admit they are few and far between, but you can come and have a look at them here at the Autocar Performance Show. This particular one, in my opinion, still one of the best looking cars on sale right now, the Gran Turismo, looking fabulous in yellow. And if that's not your style, there is, of course, the bigger Levante SUV and a little baby Gran Turismo for the kids.
Now the next car, especially in its grey colour, could have easily been missed. But once I spotted it, I was suddenly transformed into a gurgling child.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. This, everybody, is a BMW M2 competition. This is the car I've been itching to drive for the longest time. For those not in the know, and I suspect there are very few of you that aren't in the know, this is basically a shrunken down M3. I cannot wait to get my hands on it, but quite frankly, it's really amazing just to even see it in the flesh.
And what's the M division without its rival from a falterback, AMG?
Now, three of the most powerful and loudest letters in the automotive lexicon are AMG. They've really made a noise and a name for themselves over the last few decades. It is, of course, Mercedes' performance arm, and they are out in full force at the APS 2018. They are represented here today by the mighty AMG G63, the rather stylish AMG GLE 43, but my favorite is the E63S right here.
And now, a quick detour from the high-octane twin-turbo world of high performance and over to the sensible side.
Now, it may be called the Autocar Performance Show, but clearly we have more than just performance cars here. Like this, the brand new Maruti Ertiga, which is creating quite a lot of buzz. And that's the beauty of the APS. You can come and check out cars for yourself, especially something like this, and decide if it's your next purchase.
Keeping things down to earth, it was time to head over to the Nissan stand.
Now here at the Nissan stand at APS 2018 is a car that a lot of people have been looking forward to. It's the yet to be launched Nissan Kicks, and yes, it's a car that will sit above the Tirano in Nissan's lineup. But the key to the Nissan Kicks is the equipment list, which is full of class-leading features.
And now for something a little bit wilder.
Now here's something truly exotic, especially if you're into motorsport. It's the new Mahindra M5 Electro. It's their entry into the latest season of Formula E. It is wonderfully nerdy in the way it balances aerodynamics, aggression, and of course, the tricolor on the wheels.
Here's a brand we're quite excited to see entering the market in 2019, MG.
Now, most of us know Boris Garages or MG for their past, cars like this beautiful MGB that's on display here. But what MG wants to show you is its future, like this new EMG6. Now, MG is going to come in with a big bang in 2019, and maybe not with this car as its first car, but there will be a whole range of exciting cars to look forward to, and they want to show you what they've got in store and see what you think about it.
Another brand that's going to be making its Indian debut in 2019 is Kia from South Korea. It's being positioned as a premium brand that will sit slightly above the likes of Maruti and Hyundai and will launch with a mid-size SUV. However, at APS 2018 they showed two of their existing products, both of which are rather interesting. The Sportage family crossover, which looks rather cool, and the one I'm particularly keen on, the Stinger Sports Sedan. It's a rear-wheel drive sedan with a 365 horsepower turbocharged V6. Audi S5, AMG C43, you have been put on notice. Then there was the Autocar India stand itself, where standing guard at the front was one of the most talked about motorcycles of 2018, the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650. And it was soon joined by the other most talked about motorcycles of 2018, the Java and Java 42, which made their Mumbai debut to the public at APS 2018.
Now this year for the Supercar Gallery, the good folk at Throttle 97 have not disappointed. There's a little bit of something for everyone. It starts with a British Grand Tourer, the Aston DB11, a lovely JDM classic, the 300ZX, American old school muscle, a Plymouth Barracuda, and American new school muscle, the Ford Mustang GT. And of course, to cap it all off, you have a bit of pure supercar goodness, the Audi R8 310 Plus.
Not to be outdone by the high-power four-wheelers, the Superbike Gallery had some stars of its own, including a Kawasaki H2 and a very rare Indian Roadmaster Elite. Next up, however, it was time for something a bit special.
What I'm going to do now is go for a quick drive with a friend of mine. Now this is Selvin, and if you recognize him and you know him like I do, you'll know that he is a certifiable madman. And now we might be facing the right way now, but in a moment, I can see nothing but sky at this point, and that's what they want here at the Mahindra off-road course. Okay. Just make sure you haven't just eaten breakfast when you do this, because it will really rattle you about. The good thing about off-roading in something like a Mahindra Thar is if you hear a big clunk, it's probably that you're doing the right thing.
And while I was outside, a loud noise, louder than the rest of the show at any rate, drew me to a stand just adjacent to the ticket counter. Race Dynamics had brought a two-wheeler dynamometer to the show, and superbike owners flocked to it to see just how much performance their bikes really had. Must remember to pack some earplugs for next time.
Well, if I'm being perfectly honest, that is more of a workout than I've had in a very long time. Heading up and down these motor show halls and taking in all the sights and all the sounds. But it's more than just me gawking at a bunch of really hot metal, which I did, don't get me wrong. It's also just so great to be under the same roof as so many like-minded people, so many petrol heads. I've had some great conversations with people today, just chatting about numbers, equipment, spec, which car you'd rather have, even if only as a poster on your bedroom wall. It's been great. In fact, I've had so much fun at the Autocar Performance Show 2018, and I hope you have as well.